There are so many amazing places on this planet, from the sprawling Amazon rainforest in Brazil to the towering mountains in the Himalayas. The list is so large that we could probably make an entirely new channel dedicated to the subject. Humans have even done their part to contribute by building amazing structures like the Great Wall of China or the Egyptian pyramids. Unfortunately, the passing of time can take a huge toll on many of these wonders. Also, while humans are capable of building their own wonders, they can also contribute to their destruction, whether it be by way of pollution or simply reckless disregard. From Australia to China, here are 5 places on Earth that are slowly disappearing. Just off the coast of Australia lies one of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet, the Great Barrier Reef. Stretching over 1,400 miles, this enormous structure can be seen from outer space. It is the largest barrier reef in the world and has become a national icon for Australia. It was even recognized as a World Heritage Site. Recently, a study published by the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences revealed that very large portions of the Great Barrier Reef have been declining at a very fast rate. Between 1986 and 2012, it shows that over half of the living coral has died. At the current rate, over 90% or more of the coral that is still alive will be gone within about 10 years. While trying to find an explanation as to why this amazing structure is disappearing at such an alarming rate, it was found that there are a number of contributing factors. Around 42% of the loss has been attributed to a boom in population of the marine animal known as the crown of thorns sea star. This spiny creature has very few natural predators and feeds almost exclusively on coral. A second factor, which is responsible for nearly 48% of the damage to the reef, are typhoons. These monstrous storms create incredibly strong currents which can rip apart the fragile coral. The remaining damage is due to coral bleaching, which is caused by unusually warm water. Measures are in place to fight the declining health of the Great Barrier Reef. However, while the sea star population may be something that we can help with, it will not curb the rising temperatures of the ocean, which cause the bleaching and contribute to more powerful typhoons. It will take a large reduction of carbon dioxide emissions, a much larger undertaking. One of the most awe-inspiring structures ever built by man is the Great Wall of China, one of the 7 wonders of the world. Construction started in 221 BC, and when the last section of the wall was completed sometime during the Ming Dynasty, the entire structure spanned more than 13,000 miles. It is rumored that nearly 400,000 people died while building it. But even though it was built to defend an empire, the wall itself has withered over time. Today, nearly 30% of the structure has disappeared due to natural erosion and human damage. That's around 1,242 miles. To make matters worse, experts believe that the situation could get much more dire as not enough is being done to restore the structure or preserve what remains. Many people associate the Great Wall of China with one extensively restored stretch of wall near Beijing. This is where so many photos are taken. However, this is a poor representation of what the typical condition of the wall actually is. According to a survey done by the Great Wall of China Society in 2014, only about 8.2% of the wall is in good condition. Just over 74% is classified as being in poor condition. Efforts have been undertaken to spark more interest from the government in regards to the preservation of the wall. However, there is still much work to be done, and the wall is deteriorating faster than the government is willing to move. Located on the border between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan is the Aral Sea. In the early 1900s, it was the 4th largest inland lake in the world, covering an area of 26,300 square miles. This sea was a very important part of surrounding villages and communities, providing them with bountiful fishing and a very vibrant ecosystem. Constantly fed by the Sir Darya River on the east and the Amu Darya River to the south, the Aral Sea maintained a stable salinity level as well as volume. In 1918, though, the Soviet Union decided to divert fresh water from the two rivers for irrigation in other lands with the goal of increasing cotton production. Even though they knew that the sea levels would be greatly reduced, they believed that the agricultural benefits outweighed the necessities of the local ecosystem. By the 1960s, the Aral Sea began to shrink in area. By 2006, it had lost more than half of its surface area and 3/4 of its volume, exposing over 18,000 square miles of seabed. Fishing industries that were once thriving collapsed. The dried-up seabed produced dust storms that were tainted with chemicals and pesticides from Soviet agriculture. In 1987, the Aral Sea had split into two segments: the North Aral Sea in Kazakhstan and the South Aral Sea in Uzbekistan. In 1995, a dam was built to prevent water in the Northern Sea from flowing into the southern area. Eventually, plans to restore the Northern Sea were put into place, and it started to grow. The Southern Sea is a different story, with the Uzbek government unwilling to divert the Amu Darya away from its thriving cotton fields. It continues to shrink to this day. The island nation of Kiribati is one of the most isolated countries in the world. The country consists of 33 islands in the Pacific Ocean and is located less than 62 miles from the equator. The islands themselves are very shallow, resting barely a few feet above sea level. But still, the population among the 33 islands total just around 100,000. Unfortunately for the inhabitants of this isolated country, climate change has taken its toll. Rising sea levels in the area have shrunk the island's land area, submerging some of its very few areas that are suitable for growing crops. Additionally, the country has taken damage from a number of very powerful storms. While storms are not an uncommon occurrence, the intensity of the storms in recent decades has not only battered the island's infrastructure, it has sped up the erosion process on many of the beaches. In some areas, locals have seen the sea encroach over 280 feet in the span of only a few years. The nation's population has started to decrease over the last few years as residents have moved away to find safer places in which to live. The government is focused on the development of many new programs which will not only attract people back to the main islands, but will put a focus on climate change. Located 80 miles north of the Arctic Circle and 1,000 miles away from Anchorage is the remote Alaskan village of Kivalina. This barrier island has historically been home to Inuit tribes who would hunt whales and seals. However, much like the nation of Kiribati, it is disappearing at a very alarming rate. As has been the issue in many other areas in the world, climate change has played a huge part in the erosion of this island. Over the last couple of decades, the average temperature of the Arctic Ocean has been increasing. What this means is that the ocean freezes later in the winter and thaws much sooner in the spring. This is an incredibly big deal because the area gets many fierce storms during the autumn months. Ocean ice acts as protection for the island's beaches. However, when there is no ice, the water erodes the island much faster. Where the island used to be home to over 1,000 people, there is only room now for just over 400 residents. The island has been washed away so badly that it can't get running water. The road that used to be the only way in or out is almost completely washed away. Now, the only way to the mainland is by boat. Experts have predicted that at the current rate, this town will be completely uninhabitable in less than 10 years. Whether by natural causes or by man-made problems, many parts of the Earth are disappearing. While there may not be much that can be done about some things, it is within our power to help in other areas. Not only can we be environmentally conscious, we can make sure that we do not leave footprints whenever we visit a site of historical or geological significance. Click the link on screen now to check out our video of the 5 worst man-made disasters. With that, thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in next time.